Hello, Painters Clubhouse. It's 7 o'clock Sunday night. Here I am gonna paint a Valentine yard art for you tonight. Since I had such a problem last week using my iPhone and the new setup that I had, I've gone back to my old iPad because I didn't know that sound issue that we had, if it was a connection issue or my iPhone or what it was, but that was terrible and I apologize. So I've gone back to the iPad and I'm going to try to use it, but when I use it you won't see me, but that's okay. You just want to see painting anyway. This is what we're painting tonight. I'm a sucker for you. It's one of our Valentine blanks, and these are available at yardartsrus.com. You can order them online, and when they open back up, they'll be there reserved for you, or they'll ship out. You can also get the template if you don't live close enough to buy the blank, and you can get the template and get it downloaded and cut your own. This is from a child's Valentine from the 1950s. And I drew this design. I have a whole collection of old Valentines. My mom was a teacher, and she taught for 33 years. And then I was a teacher, and I taught for 30 years. And back in the day, kids gave you Valentines, and they were little penny Valentines, but they were so cute. And I kept all Mom's, and I kept all mine, and because I'm a pack rat. But I go through those and look at things, and I even have some Valentines that a great aunt gave me that my mom and dad gave to their classmates and to each other when they were in elementary school. So I have a treasure trove of old Valentines. But I thought this one was extra cute with the big sucker, and it has the conversation hearts around it. And I'm a sucker for you. So before I tell you about the paint, I want to talk just a little bit about brushes. Earlier today, I went to Ross. And I don't know if you have a Ross where you live. There's no use going to the Pearland one because I bought all the brushes they had. But I wanted to show you these packs of brushes that they had at Ross. This one, $2.99. And you got 5 brushes in this one. You got more in this one. You got 8 brushes in this one. $2.99. This one, $2.99. And again, you got a big flat, several script liners, some little flats. They had 2 of these, so I bought both of those. $2.99 for these brushes. Then they had these packs with 10 brushes in them. And one of them was $3.99. The other one had been reduced to $2.99. And when I asked her if I could have this one for $2.99, she said, no, not until the sticker's been, it's because of the age of being on the shelf. Okay, they're the same brushes, different colors. This one has black handles, this one has white handles. But they had 3/4, they had a fan brush in there, they have some rounds, they have some script liners. So you can get brushes just about anywhere, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on them. And they work just as well as some of the more expensive brushes that you'll get at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or an art supply store. But if you have a Ross near where you live, go check out these brushes, because this is certainly a great buy. $3 for 10 brushes, 30 cents a piece. It's a good deal. Then I got this set, again at Ross. I already opened it up. It was in a tube, and they were $5.99, so $6. And these are the bigger handle, and they're bigger brushes to cover a lot more area. But you've got a 3/4 inch, you've got some 1/2 inch, you've got some big mop brushes, a couple of script liners, a couple of flats, and this nice little holder. And it came with a brush carrier. It came with this little canvas brush carrier. So if you were going to, and it rolls up and ties, so you could take your brushes with you if you were going painting somewhere else. But I just wanted to show you that you can get some really good prices on some good brushes. But like I said, I bought all they had in the Pearland store that's over on Pearland Parkway. So there's no use going there because they don't have any anymore because I bought them all. I'm bad like that. If one's fine, all of them is much better. But I use a lot of brushes. Let's see where I'll put these out of the way. Okay, back to this tonight. Colors that I use. Now, Ashley and Mary put on the back, this blank is $26 if you buy the blank that's on MDO. And they have the colors listed for you on the back, the colors that I used. You don't have to use those colors. It's just a suggestion so that you know kind of what you want to use. You can use colors you already have. You don't have to necessarily use the colors that I use because there's no rhyme or reason and you just have fun painting. But obviously I used the yellow for the, I don't think I pulled my yellow out. I used yellow for the big part of the sucker, and that is number 13. And then as I come down, the conversation heart that's kind of behind, I wanted him lilac or light purple, which is number 27. And I mixed a little bit of white in my lilac, so I had two shades because I wanted to shade the back side or the edge of this conversation heart. So by mixing a little bit of white in with it, I got a lighter purple or lilac, and then the standard number 27. This is mint green, number 9, and I shaded it with lime green, number 10. And then over here on this side is shading pink, number 26 for this heart, and glitter red, number 22 for the shading. This heart is light pink, number 25, and it's shaded with shading pink, number 26. And then my big red, which is number 20 red. Then I came down here, and my sucker stem, I thought about doing it black and white, and you still could because I think it would look good black and white. But on my old postcard, the colors were softer and a little bit less bold, I guess you'd say. So I had not used the coral number 15. So I decided I wanted to use coral and white for the stripes on my sucker stick. And then I also used coral for this heart. And again, just like with the lilac, I took one of the cups and I mixed half white and half coral to get a lighter coral so I could shade with the coral. And then down here, again, I repeated my shading pink and my glitter red. And then over here, I repeated the mint green and the lime green. Then I outlined with black and my white highlights. So those are the colors that I used on I'm a Sucker For You. One of the first things I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to show you how to get the sucker part a little bit three-dimensional. Now I'm going to try to check on my iPhone to make sure that my sound is not messing up, because I guess if I had checked it early enough, I could have seen that it was messing up, and Ashley said I could have gone out and then come back in and it might have straightened up. So we'll see if it's going to do that or not. So I see Mary is watching, and I'm happy that Mary is here. Let's see who else is here tonight. And Debbie. Good to see you, Debbie. Kimberly. Okay. I'm glad you all are with me tonight. We've got 11 people, so that's a good start. And I know a lot of you watch later and or pick it up later. You can pick it up on the YouTube channel, or you can watch it on Facebook too, but it will be where you can go back and look at it after you get this blank and you're wanting to work on this blank. But you see that I have the center of his face lighter, and it gets darker as it goes to the edge. That makes it look three-dimensional. That makes it look rounded. And this sucker is a round sucker at the top. It's like a blow pop. So I wanted it to look round. The other thing I did, after seeing Mary's turntable, I had one of these Rubbermaid turntables in the pantry, so it wasn't being used, so I pulled it out. And it doesn't work real good a lot of the time, but other times it works just great. So I'm gonna pull this over, I'll move these out of the way. You know what I don't have? I don't have my water. I'm gonna run get my water. I left it sitting at my counter. When I get my water, I put a dab of dish soap in the water. I think it helps to clean the brushes just a little bit. Okay. Let's get a fairly good sized brush. And I went ahead and painted one coat on his tongue, because that yellow doesn't cover up quite as much as you would like it to. So I'm taking my yellow and I'm taking my white. And I'm going to take some white and just put it right here in the center. Quite a bit. Then I'm going to dip my brush, and I didn't clean it. You can pat it off on there to get most of it off. But I'm going to just dip my brush in my yellow and just take about 2 brushfuls of yellow. And then I'm going to just mix them on the blank. Just mix that white and yellow up. And I want it to be in the center. I want it to come out past the eyes, and those are cut in there in the CNC. So I'm just smoothing this out, getting my brush strokes out of it, using a really light, just a very light touch to get those brush strokes out till I get that smooth and white. And you see I've got a circle there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that brush that had that paint on it, I'm just going to wipe it off, and I'm going to dip it back into the yellow and come right along the edge and just go along the edge, and that's going to feather out that white and yellow just right along the edge. And then it blends into the yellow that you already had. Now that'll need to dry while I work on some other area. That's going to need to dry before I can do the facial features that are on there. I put 2 coats of paint on most all of this. So like I said, on this heart right here, that's my lilac, I mixed. My dogs are going to start barking. I didn't put the little dogs up, thinking, well, you know, there's not a lot going on. But Buddy's out there at the front door. Somebody's out on the street. And they're playing out there, so he gonna bark at them. But Buddy, you be quiet, or I'm gonna go put you in your kennel. You have to be quiet. Yeah, he knows. Okay, you can see the difference here. I've got half white and half lilac. So I painted 2 coats of my lighter lilac. Now I'm going to use my number 27 as my shading. So I'm going to come in, and that CNC cut line is right there for you. So all you have to do is shade. It goes right in between this V of the green. Now, I'd already done the edges in the lighter color. If it bothers you about edges being the same color, you can go along and paint the edges in this darker. I only need one coat of that darker color. So the shading is done on that lilac heart. Clean that brush up a little bit. And I'm going to get my glitter red. And I'm going to shade, see if I can turn this around, over here where you can see. So on this shocking pink, or it's shading pink, but it's a hot pink fuchsia color. So I'm using the glitter red to shade it just along the edge where that C and C line is. So then these are like the sides of those conversation hearts. And I just think you need just one layer. Come down here to this bottom one, because I repeated the color. I think when you repeat colors, you make a more cohesive composition, because the eye likes to see you repeat colors. Now, while I've got this glitter red out, I'm going to shade my regular red heart too. You could use the brown, shading brown works really good with red. This glitter red is just like one shade darker. And I thought it looked pretty good. So I'm shading my edge of my heart. I'm going to go down the side beside my stem of my sucker, because that sucker is in front, so I want a little bit of a shadow. And I think this dries slightly darker, because when you put it on there, there's not a lot of contrast. But after it was dry, I liked the way it looked. Because a lot of times with red, I'll use the shading brown. And you could mix up a red and a black. I use very little black as shading. And the reason being is when you put a black with a color to make a shade, it dulls that color down. And I like the bright, vibrant colors. A complement is much better. And if you don't think this is dark enough, we can use the complement of red, which is green. Let me grab a little Christmas, let me grab a green here. I'll just show you what I mean. I'm going to take this green, and I'm just going to get just a little bit of that green. And I mix it with the red that's already on there. And it turns into a darker red. Can you see the difference on there when you mix just a little bit of green with that glitter red? And you have to brush it out, because you don't want the green showing up as green. But green and red together make you a darker. Now, can you see the difference in there? Which do you like better? It's just personal preference. Since I did one side in the darker green, I'm going to go ahead and do this other side in the darker green too, just so they'll balance out. Now this side is a little drier, so I'm going to have to come back in and get me a little red in there too, because it's a little bit too dry. The paint needs to still be wet when you do that. When you mix them on the surface, the paint still needs to be wet. This paint dries pretty quickly. I'm just adding a little bit of my green, dark green, to my glitter red. Okay. a little bit. And I'm going to take my lime green and I'm going to shade my lime green. Now, I'm not putting a lot of paint on my brush. I'm letting it be pretty thin and letting that underneath color show through. So I'll come down here to my bottom one. Now you could use this darker color for your lettering, but I wanted to use red for my lettering just to reinforce that red color. So I've got them all shaded but my pink and my coral. So I'm going to take my coral color. And this is number 15. Whoop, that has to be shook up. And you can see I cut it by half, so I have a light coral and a dark coral. So I painted the heart with 2 coats of the light coral. And then I'm going to use the dark coral for the shading. Keep getting my finger in here. And like I said, I put 2 coats of coral on my stem. I painted the whole thing white first, and then I put 2 coats. And you can still see a few of my brush strokes. So I'm going to come back and just, since I already have coral on my brush, and just add a little more coral on there. Now these 2 void areas are going to be painted black. They'll just fade into the background, but they'll do that when I do my black highlighting. The only one I haven't shaded is my pink, and I need shading pink for it. Number 26. And there's not a lot of shading on this heart. It kind of sticks out all the way around, so. I got too much water on my brush. Okay, while all that is drying, we're going to talk about the shading in this ruffle where the string is tied up around. So you're going to need your white and your yellow again. And you've got CNC cut lines, and think of it rising and falling, and decide which way the light is going to be hitting the rise and the fall. To me, first thing is going to be these outside edges are going to be turned up. So I'm going to take my white and I'm just going to come right along this outside edge and just put white right along that edge. Then it's going to go darker until it hits this one, and then this one rises up. So you've got your CNC line there. So you want it just on the top. And this curve is going to kind of let you know where the top is. Same thing with this one. You've got another CNC cut line here. So you're going to put your white right there. Now it's rising up here. So we're going to go the opposite direction on this side, because you look at where they rise and fall. And then here is a rise, just like that. Now, if it doesn't blend to your liking, this is blending pretty good, but you can take your yellow right behind you and just right along that edge, just add a little yellow, and it'll blend right along with that white. So you don't need much, just a tiny bit of yellow, and it lets that rise and fall. Then when you put your highlight lines in there, it's going to make those show up even better. All right, I'm going to take my shading yellow, and I'm not sure, number 14, I'm not sure I said that or not, but working on my face here, he's got these cheeks, and you've got your CNC line there, so I want my shading yellow on his cheeks right here. And then I like to have just a little bit around the eyes. So I'm using, instead of using the flat part of my brush, I'm using the edge of my brush. And I'm just putting just a little bit under his eye. And the same thing with the nose. I'm going to put just a little bit under the nose. And then just a little bit along the edge of the mouth. Not a lot, just a little bit. And then these lines that are coming up here that show that this is tied up, I'm coming along those. And then I'm going to go around my entire outside edge with my shading yellow. Now, Bo, don't you start that. Bo! No. I know, you think you're protecting me. You're a big bad dog, aren't you? Go lay down. All right, now I want to put a little bit of this shading yellow in here, but this brush is too big for me. So I'm going to change into a smaller brush. I'm going to get me a smaller one. This is a number, kind of worn off. 2. This is number 2. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to shade in here with my shading yellow too. blend that shading yellow out so that it's not such a harsh line. Now this is almost dry, and I want a little darker right here. So I'm going to put me a second coat right along here because I want it just slightly darker so that it really looks like it's tied up. And if you get a second coat on there, it makes it go darker. So see, I'm adding a darker line right along the very edge. Now I'll come back with a black line too because I like them to really pop, and I think that black line makes them really pop. And I believe a black line a second coat right at the bottom of the cheek. Same color, but you're just adding more paint. Okay, the other thing I see that I want to do that I didn't do when I had my shading pink out, I put it here, but I didn't put it on the outside edge, and I want to put some on the outside edge of this shading pink. There we go. And even those strokes up. Those strokes didn't look too even. Okay. Now that's about all the shading. I'm ready for my highlighting with black and with white. I like to use the black last. So I'm going to highlight with white. So I'm going to take my white, I'm going to get my script liner, which is, mine is so old, again, you don't see the number, but it is the small script liner that I got at the store. And I know I'll have a highlight here, have one here, here. See how nice that lazy Susan makes it? I'll come over here. Bo, you're in trouble, boy. Teach me. Okay, now to make my stem three-dimensional, I'm going to take and I'm going to put a white highlight on one side. Does not matter which side you put it on. And I'm just going up on my coral part. Then I want a highlight on my yellow, and I want it to come all the way around. So this is a harder stroke. You'll have to get it to do in more than one time. to get it to come all the way around. You'll have to make several strokes. That's too thick right there. I'm going to pick some of that paint up. That's pretty good. And then I want to put highlight in here so that you have these, and I want to highlight here. Okay, I need another coat of red. On my tongue. I put one coat, but I knew one coat was not going to cover it up. So I'm going to put 2 coats. Now, while I've got my red out, I'm going to take my script liner and I'm going to start working on my words. Because I did all of my words except on the red heart in red. Up to you what color you use. I thought black was going to be a little strong. These words, I work from the inside to the outside. See if I can get it over closer where you see it. But like I start here. And I do the strokes that are coming to me. Do them first. And these CNC lines makes it so easy. Just go slow. Bo, stop it. Yeah, he listens real good, doesn't he? Hope all of you had a great New Year and got your New Year sign done and out in the yard. Mine's out there. I haven't taken my Christmas out of the yard yet. I started to today and I just enjoy it so much. Well, I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, there's my Be Mine. Come down here to the sweet. Now most of the time I let it dry before I start doing my lettering. So you need to get your hand so that you can rest your hand, and if you've got wet paint on there, you have a tendency to get your hand in wet paint. You don't want that. Now for this video, of course I can't let it dry, but ideally, and it doesn't take long to dry. If you want to hit it with a hairdryer, then it dries real quickly. you notice when I get to the end of the row, or the end of the letter, I let it sit there a minute. And that lets that paint pool down off the end of the brush and gives you a nice ending to it. Just let it sit there a minute. I may do that love black. That's not going to show up. So I think I'll do the love black, or may do it white. When I do my sucker in white, I may do that love white too. Now this one did not have any lettering. I thought it looked a little weird not to have a lettering. So I just put an L on there like it was going to say love. L was easy to do. And then just a hint of an O beside it. I just thought it looked better not for it to have something on there. So I'll clean my brush. And I'll get my white. And I'll come down here to the word sucker, because it needs to be white. You want a contrast on the lettering on that. And see, the sweet is still wet. So if I'm not real careful, I'll put my hand in that sweet. So I'm going to have to be careful there. Let's see. I can get this where you can see it a little bit better. There we go. Take that lettering in several different swipes or directions. Don't try to do it all at once. Once you get really expert on lettering, you probably can. But I think it's easier just to do one piece at a time. Let your brush rest at the end. I didn't let it rest long enough, so I don't have a nice end right there. But you can just go back over it. But I kind of start at the top, come down, then go back to the top, and make this meet in the middle. next I think we're ready for black. Now, where is my black? So much paint out here. Here's my black. Okay, we'll work on his face while this dries. Gotta get his face done up here. So I'll turn it upside down so you can see it, and then I can work on it. And I'm going to use, let's see, what brush would I like? I think I'm going to do a small #1 round because I want to get some fine lines in here. And this is a little thick, so I've got to add some water in here. Added a little water, put my lid back on, get my lid on straight, and then you can shake it and it'll mix good. Okay. There we go. Let's try. All right, I'm going to come down here and get this line for his mouth. And I've got my CNC cut lines there. So I'm just following them. I'm going to outline his tongue. And then right up the middle, kind of part way of his tongue. Then his nose needs to be filled in. Then his eyes need to be filled in. And his other eye. I painted on this New Year's Eve. That was how I spent my New Year's Eve. And my dogs kept trying to get up in my lap because they did not like the fireworks. Right on the back side of my house is the county. The Bailey Road is on my back doorstep. And on the other side of Bailey is the county. So people from this subdivision just go right across the street and set out their fireworks. They can stand on the sidewalk over there and do their fireworks, and they're not in the city anymore. So there was lots of fireworks going on. They started about 8:30, and so my dogs were just nuts. And they kept trying to get in my lap, and I was trying to paint, and painting with a dog in your lap is not easy. All right, so I'm going to outline here and show you a little bit on where I put these gather lines, let's call it. So I got to turn it to get on this side so you don't stretch your arm out too far. Okay. Now this is going to be gathered up. Let me get my... See these lines right in here? These are the little gather lines so that it looks like this is ruffled along the edge. Don't need a lot, one or two for each one. So then when you come back in and you put smooth that out a little bit. So this is not completely dry, so I can't put my hand down. But from there, then I'll come all the way up. And I'll go around the edge of his head. Okay, so now it looks like he's got gathers around the top of his head. I'm going to come down here and do the lettering next, but you go ahead and all of these CNC lines, you're going to fill in with black. And you're going to fill in this part and this part right down here with black too. I hope we've got these Valentine ones far enough ahead for you so that you'll have plenty of time to get them painted in time to have them out for February. Because we've got quite a few Valentine designs for you. Okay, we got for you on this side. And then we're gonna come over here on this side. And I'm a sucker. Sucker's already done, so it's I'm a. I got that wider at the bottom than at the top, so I'm going to come back up. I'm going to add some at the top. And then the void needs to be filled in. You can do this light blue. Black kind of makes it just fade away. But this is just an area that has nothing in it, and if you paint it black, it's going to recede into the background and you're not going to notice it. Down the side of my heart. Now all I have left to do is just outline, and I really, I don't think you want to spend time watching me just outline, but this is not dry enough yet. But I put little highlight dots in both sides of his eyes, so you can see them there. But otherwise, I just highlighted on all of those CNC cut lines with my black. I just filled in both sides of my sucker stick, all of those cut lines. And I didn't use a lot of black highlights. I used the white. I wanted it to stay fairly light in value, so I didn't put a lot of black on it. I wanted the words to stand out. Now the other thing I did, and you can do it or not, but on one side of my word I put a black highlight so that you can see I went down the side of the B here and on the inside there, the back side of the E and the bottoms. One side of the L, just like this. That makes those a little bit more three-dimensional, just a little bit. I didn't do it on any of the black lettering, but sucker I did again, and it makes it pop out just slightly more. It has to be dry before you do that. Don't try to do it while your lettering is still wet. So wait a couple of hours and then come back in with your script liner and just on one side. Doesn't matter which side. I tend to use it on the right side, but it does not matter. I did a white highlight on the tongue. My tongue on the other one is not dry enough for me to do that yet. But all of the other highlights we did with the white. But I'm a sucker for you. That's all it is. It's pretty easy to do. Hope you all have a good time painting it. Hope you have a good week this week. See you next week with another Valentine to paint. We're going to paint Valentines in January, and then in February we're going to start on Easter. We got some great designs coming up. I think you've seen the Valentine ones maybe in Ashley's preview. If you didn't, go back and check it out because there's some great designs. Let me look real quickly and see if there's any questions that I need to answer. You're in Pearland. Are they still shooting the firecrackers now? I haven't heard any tonight. That doesn't mean that they won't have some left over. Now, last night we still had some, but most of them were New Year's Eve. Oh, your Bo's barking too. My dogs bark at the TV. If a doorbell rings on the TV, they'll bark. Kitty, I'm glad you're watching tonight. I'm not sure I've seen your name before. Oh, Mary says I need to get in front of the camera together and do some tutorials on the science behind mixing colors. That's not a bad idea. Sometime maybe I'll come over at your house because you've got a better setup than I do, and we'll just talk about color wheel and mixing. And somebody said they wanted me to do a plaid tutorial. Maybe we could do a tutorial on mixing colors, and at that same time, because mixing's real easy and pretty fast, we could do a plaid tutorial too. I think that's a good idea. You would have thought about the dark green to darken the red. I need to find in my old art stuff the color wheel. If you learn the color wheel and where things are on the color wheel, you use, it's called a complementary color, and it's whatever's directly across from the color wheel. And red, strongest complement is green. So to darken red, you use green. To darken green, you use red. Blue, you use orange. Orange, you use blue. Yellow, you use violet or purple. Purple, you use yellow, because they're the strongest complements. And anything in between them, you use those complements too, because it's across the color wheel. Color theory is a science, and it's how your eyes mix those colors. And there's a difference in pigment colors and light colors. I'll find a color wheel and we'll talk about that. I think that's a pretty good idea. Maybe Mary and I need to work on that a little bit. Let's see, what else is anything? Okay, if you wanted to do the same 3D effect on another color other than yellow, would you use white? If you want anything to come forward, to stick out or to stick up, you always use white. If you want it to recede or go away, you darken it. So anytime you want something mounded, you'd use lighter in the center and darker on the edges. And that makes it look three-dimensional. That makes it look mounded. Oh, you love my t-shirt? Yes. My husband loved Volkswagens. He had all these old Volkswagens and a Volkswagen van, and it broke my heart when I had to have his auction. He had a Volkswagen Thing. You've probably never seen them. They're from the mid-70s, and it's like a dune buggy, I guess you'd say. And his was orange, and it had air conditioning, which was really rare. And he loved his Volkswagen Thing. But I had to sell it at his auction to help take care of him in the where he is at Tuscany Village. But it was hard on me selling his motorcycles and his all of his toys, I guess you'd say. But I bought this in honor of him because it had this Volkswagen on it here. All right, let's see. I think we've covered all of the questions, and we will see you all next week. Have a good week. Bye.